This is a TalkStation original podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Paper Boys podcast. I'm J.J. Smith.
And I'm Zach Nally.
Reporters with the Carteret County News-Times. We are joined in studio today by members of the East Carteret baseball team, Coach Josh Van Meter, Eli Jenkins, and Jonathan Piner. Gentlemen, thanks for being with us.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you. So the Mariners are, what over here, like 12 hours off of coming home after becoming the first East Carteret baseball team, after becoming the first county baseball team to finish a season undefeated. Asterisk beside that, West Carteret did it in 2021, but that was a COVID season, so it was 11-0. These guys are 24-0. They're the first time in county history to win 24 games. The 90 East Carteret team won 23, and the 2009 Croatan team won 23. So we did some things last night, and then we had a nice welcome for us coming back into the county last night, Coach.
Yeah, absolutely. Really cool way to get back into Carteret County. Had a little police escort, some fire trucks waiting on us, and family and friends to kind of welcome us back home.
Not your usual return on a regular season game, Eli.
It's definitely not. I've never seen that many people there to welcome us.
What's it been like these last 12 hours, Jonathan?
It's been amazing. It feels unreal. It doesn't feel like we should necessarily be here, but I mean we did it, and it just feels good to know that we're 24-0.
Well, let's set the foundation here for this team. You go, was it 16-7 last year? Mm-hmm. Win a conference championship.
Sure.
First one in 4 or 5 years?
I think first time in 5. Yeah. Since 4. Yes. So 4 years.
It's been a while. Mm-hmm. Lose Tanner Goodwin, which is not to gloss over that. That's a big loss. He was your number one pitcher. Had a fantastic year. He was all county.
Great leadership.
Yeah. Any other year he might have been player of the year, but Broderick Miller put up insane historic numbers, so he was our player of the year. But other than that, that's it. Everybody comes back. 95% of the team off of a conference championship, 16-7 team. You bring back these two gentlemen that we have in the studio with us here who are 1-2 in the conference player of the year running. Mm-hmm. You bring in 3 freshmen who were talented. Sure. I'm guessing you're thinking it's going to be 2025 is going to be a pretty good year. Absolutely.
I mean, we definitely had our eyes set on the conference title. Had our eyes set. Team goal was 20 wins, and we felt like if we could go 20-4, we would put ourselves in a great spot to try to make a run at a regional. And the goal was to host one. Obviously, we know it's hard to play at our place. It's kind of the corner of the earth over there at East Carteret. So our goal was to just, really be as competitive as we could be and force people to come to us, because obviously going on the road in the playoffs is tough. It's a tough environment.
I was wondering how much of this 24-0 season, Eli, the fuel for this fire was Craven. Y'all had that great year last year, but then you lose in the first round. Don't just lose, but lose, 10-0?
10-1.
10-1. Mm-hmm. Was that oh man, forget it, next year is going to be, look out?
Yeah, that was for sure a wake-up call, and that really drove, I would say, a lot of us who were on that team last year to push harder and do something great.
Yeah, John, you think if you go to maybe the second round, lose a 6-5 game, that your off-season is different than losing 10-1 in the first round to West Craven?
Of course. I feel like the games that we lose like that, where we have the rude awakening, like Eli said, where I think it pushes us harder that off season to really get better and see what we can do the following year.
Yeah. Tell us about these two gentlemen we got in here in the studio with us today and what they bring to the team, Coach.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say enough about them. I think both these guys can agree last year's West Craven loss left a sour taste in our mouth after winning a conference title, which obviously is a huge goal, but I think all of us kind of hit that sigh of relief once we did it, and to turn it right around and kind of take the foot off the gas versus, really pressing harder. I think, especially for them, they were fortunate enough as freshmen to go to the third round and really one play away from winning that game in a tough environment at Midway. I think as freshmen, when you're 14, 15 years old, and even me as a young coach at 26, 27 years old, you think we'll get back there, and it just happens, and it doesn't. This is, even a year like this, it probably or potentially could never happen again in my coaching career and in their playing careers. So you really start to appreciate that after a first-round loss, especially at home. It was a sucker punch. It hurt, and I'm kind of glad, and in retrospect, because the fall workouts, the winter workouts, the weight room days, it was a crowded room. And I think, from freshman all the way up through, that junior and senior class, those guys had that top of mind, and, rightfully so, because we didn't want to repeat that, and obviously hoping to make a deep run again this year. But as far as these two guys, I mean, I can't say enough from the athletic side, the physical side. I mean, you can look at these two guys. They're the two strongest guys in the room today, not by accident. So they've been in the weight room. They're gym rats. They work out even outside of what we ask of them in the school day and after school. But on their own, they're in the cage. I know JP does a lot of traveling up there, to Goldsboro, and gets a lot of innings, catching some good arms. Where Eli's, I can't tell you the last weekend I haven't drove by, the field, and him and his dad are in there hitting on their own. So that's what it takes. That's what it looks like. Both of these guys have a bright future and career ahead of them. I think, we're going to see both of them. Obviously, Eli's already committed to play at Wingate. JP's, right there, going to follow suit here soon. So, these two guys are a coach's delight. They're yes sir, no sir guys. They're hustle guys. You never have to worry about, where their head's at on game day, and even at practice. They're the type of guys that, when things start to go maybe south or a direction you don't want it to, they're just player-led guys. And for a coach and in your clubhouse, what more can you ask?
It's too bad we couldn't find a couple guys with better numbers, but we brought in these two guys. Eli's batting .530. He's got 41 runs. He's got 21 RBIs. He's got, what do we got here, 11 extra base hits. I think he's got 42 stolen bases. That's still number one in the state?
Still holding on to number one in the state. And actually, we talked about it in the car, just to give him a little shout-out on his career. But he's at 95 stolen bases, 5 away from hitting the century mark as a junior. So super proud of him. That's his athleticism. He's very instinctual on the bases. But yes, he's got the supporting cast numbers that go with that this year as well.
660 on base percentage, 803. Eli Jenkins, what do we think about this junior year we put together?
It's been great. I mean, I've just been having a great time. I think I've loosened up this year. I think last year I was playing a little too tight and just maybe not as enjoying it as much. But this year I've just let loose, and we're having a great time doing it.
Mr. Piner's batting .500. He's got 29 RBIs. He's got 17 extra base hits, 10 doubles, 4 home runs. He is .568 on base percentage and .878 slugging. Mr. Piner, what do we think about this junior year we put together?
I think it's been great. I think that this year compared to last year, I've playing more loose because last year I was coming off of an injury, feeling like I had a point to prove to everybody. And then this year I've shown everybody, conference, non-conference, what I can do, and they know what I'm going to do. So I feel like I ain't got much to prove at this point, so why not just go out there and have fun?
Tell us a little bit about that back injury you had to overcome.
So freshman year, or going into my freshman year, I had bilateral pars fractures on my L5 and S1 vertebrae, and didn't know it until after my freshman year. Went and got an MRI, and they saw that I had the fractures. So I had to have surgery on that in the June going into my sophomore year, and then all throughout the fall, I was doing nothing but physical therapy at Young's in Moorhead. And then by, I think it was October 23rd is when I finally got cleared. Came back, had a good junior season, won player of the year. And then now this year we're just keeping it rolling.
Sophomore season,
yeah. I'm sorry.
But was it touch and go there whether you were ever going to be able to play baseball?
That was my biggest concern, is when they told me I had to have surgery, whether I was going to be able to set foot on the diamond again.
But I'll tell you, that phone call on October 23rd, him and Mama called me, and they said, "Coach, can we get in the cage tonight?" I said, "What do you mean get in the cage? You still got?" He said, "We got to go ahead from Duke University from his doctors," and I know that was an emotional day for him and his family. And even as a coaching staff, we always had those question marks. Was Jonathan going to be timid? Was he going to be the same guy? Even talking to other coaches in the conference, in the county, everybody knows, JP's abilities. He's been a big time player in Carteret County since he was 12 years old, and we were kind of cautious. How is this going to play out? And obviously he went off last year and had a great year. And this year again, batting .500. Can't say enough about JP. He's kind of the juice of our lineup, and I call him Mr. Reliable.
He's not Diesel. He's Mr. Reliable.
Hey, he's Mr. Reliable. I mean, I couldn't tell you the last time. I think it happened one time this season because we joked about it with the team that we found a way to win. It was the first time in 3 years where Jonathan Piner did not have a hit in the game, and we won. And so I literally sat there, went back through, and said, when's the last time JP didn't have a hit? And it was his freshman year. So again, you know what you're going to get from JP, and kind of like I told you a couple weeks ago, you are what your record says you are. You are what your numbers say you are, and JP is a career 500 hitter at the high school level. It's going to translate really well at the college level for him wherever he ends up. But super proud of him and all he's overcome with that injury.
A starter since day one as catcher, freshman year.
Yes, sir.
And hit the 4-hole this year. What about last year?
Last year, I was hitting 4-hole at the beginning of the season, and then
ended up pushing him in the 2. And I got a funny story to tell you why.
Okay, go for it.
So honestly, we took a loss to, believe it or not, Southside on the road, our first conference game of the year, that we should have never lost. We lost 2-1. They threw a little junior righty with a decent little breaking ball. We just couldn't get the ball out of the air. Got ourselves out all night. And long story short, Eli Jenkins, bad leadoff. He's been our leadoff center fielder since he showed up here as a freshman. Eli gets on, steals second, steals third. And JP was in the on-deck circle in the 3-hole that night. And our 2-hole flew out to end the game to second base, I believe, or shallow right field. And I remember looking at the on-deck circle, telling myself, I am never going to lose another game as long as I'm at East Carteret with Jonathan Piner in the on-deck
waiting
circle.
To go on.
So I can't justify batting JP in the 1-hole whenever I've got a guy that runs a 6'6", 160 and Eli Jenkins and gets on base at a 700% clip. But JP can hit in the 2-hole, and he did last year.
The next best spot.
The next best. So I kind of laughed. I had some folks joke with me, say, you're turning into Joe Madden over here, putting Rizzo in the leadoff spot and different things, but very unconventional. But I was not going to lose another game with him in the on-deck circle.
Pretty high up in the order for a catcher, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Eli, what's it like starting day one center fielder leadoff as a freshman on a varsity team? How nervous were we, and how do we feel then compared to now when we're out there?
I think the main change from middle school, I didn't have as much of a struggle as hitting, but the base running was a big change for me. Freshman year, I got thrown out quite a few times compared to the last 2 years, and it's just been, freshman year I was very nervous compared to now. Now I've loosened up. Like I said, we're having a good time, and I feel like freshman year, maybe not enjoying it as much because it's you think you have forever, but now we're starting to get to the point where it's like it's winding down, and you got to enjoy the moments as they come.
And Jonathan, what's the difference for you freshman year to this year?
Freshman year, a lot more nervous, like I said, about my sophomore year, feeling like I have something to prove because you got this 14-year-old catcher who is heard about around the county, but it's like, what can he do with a bunch of guys who were seniors in high school getting ready to go play possibly college ball? And I felt like I had to prove a lot more freshman year, and then also fighting with my injury with my back. But compared to now, it's just now we're to a point where I feel like I'm comfortable and confident enough back there where you put any situation and we're going to figure a way to get out of it.
As you all get older, is it fun going from that being the young guys on the team to taking more leadership roles with the other guys in the team?
Of course.
Yeah.
Especially when
duty time comes around.
There you go.
Who's carrying buckets? Who's carrying helmets?
That's right.
Yeah. They get to delegate.
Delegating
now.
is the best part of getting older.
Right.
That's right. Well, no, I mean, you talk about everybody coming back for the most part this year, and camaraderie is half the battle, I'm sure, for a coach, and to have guys in that position to be leaders on the team, that's all you can ask for, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can remember my first year at East coming into it, and we had great leadership with the Jacob Nelson Player of the Year type of guy, and I think 5 seniors that year, 4 of which hit over a 350. So leadership wasn't a concern, but it was also making sure that we had the right voices that were leading the charge. And 3 years removed, or 3 years later now, with these 2 guys taking on more of that leadership role, you don't have to lead necessarily always with your voice, and I think both of these guys do a great job of leading in different types of ways. They lead in the way they play the game. They lead in the way they practice. They lead in the way they carry themselves. From the bus to the dugout. We talk about all the time setting the tone, taking IO, and that's our first opportunity to let the opponent know that we mean business. We're here to play, and we're here to beat your butt. So super proud of those guys. They've done everything that we had hoped they had done as juniors.
Just to go back to the beginning too, we mentioned the support on social media, the support when you guys came back into town from Southside. It's one thing to have a good season, but it really feels like people are very excited about what you're doing. Do you feel that from your parents' friends, church on Sundays, wherever you are in the community? Do people come up and talk to you about how they played back in their day, and it evokes all these memories and East Carteret legacy baseball? Do you guys feel that?
Actually, on the weekends when I mow grass, people will drive by or walk by and compliment our team when I'm wearing an East Carteret baseball shirt. So
yeah, that's awesome.
It's nice to just people notice what you're doing.
Yeah.
With me, a lot of the time when I'll stop at like a gas station or something for a drink, a breakfast biscuit or whatever, there's always someone who's like, y'all really did it this year, haven't you? And it's like, yeah, like we're keeping it on a roll. And then especially like this morning, I had probably 5 or 6 people come up to me and like congratulate us for it. I mean, it's great. I mean, especially, and then some of the guys from the 91 team who said it, they've especially congratulated us and thought that they're happy that we broke the record.
Yeah. Maybe the deeper you go in the playoffs, so maybe you get some free biscuits, huh?
Absolutely. I mean, the community support has been awesome, like they said. I can't say enough about East Carteret, the staff, Mr. Westbrook. The announcements yesterday morning. I know, you can't hardly walk down the hallways right now without, people like Mr. Baker, giving you knuckles and cheering you on, and Mr. Reinhardt in the art room. It's been such a cool environment for me to see as a first-year teacher at East Carteret. You hear about it, you see it. I didn't actually live in Beaufort until this year, and now
what a time!
Yeah, what a time!
Welcome.
To move. Yeah. It's been really surreal for me to see how much the community's embraced it. Local businesses, folks that, like Eli said, you really didn't think had any reach or touch or grasp of it. Just come up, pat you on the back, and tell you you're doing a nice job, and that they're proud of you. That's what high school athletics are all about. So these are memories that these boys and myself will take with us for a long time.
How about, I know Coach has mentioned it a lot this year, Jonathan, about the team chemistry and the camaraderie and how much that's played a part. Tell me about how the team's come together this season.
The team has come together pretty good this season. A lot during the fall workouts, and especially because East Carteret's a small school, so everybody knows everybody. And then some newcomers like the freshmen, Chase Robertson, Tanner Wade, Jacob Grimm, they were accepted almost immediately as our brothers. And then other than that, I mean, we all hang out. We're each other's best friends, like Wood Parker said on the news. We're all always together doing something.
A little bit of sweat equity also helps some of that camaraderie, as he's talking about. Those freshmen, once they put a little time in the weight room, a little time on an October afternoon day when it's about 88 degrees together sweating, it does something for a band of brothers. So, like he said, those guys really, I think, once these older upperclassmen realized that they were all in on, coming alongside to help what we were trying to accomplish, and they were willing to put that same work that they put in as freshmen, it makes everything kind of flow very naturally.
When the spring came around, did it feel different when you hit that practice for the first few times?
Honestly, not really, because we've been doing this so much in the off season.
Sure.
It just felt like another day at the field.
Yeah.
But then when we started getting into our first scrimmage against Dixon, it was like, all right, here we go, it's game time. And then everybody shaking the rust off from being out in the fall and other guys playing other sports like basketball.
But did you feel like back then that this season had some sort of that it had the potential that we see now?
I thought that it had the potential mainly because it was we saw what we were doing in practice and how well we were doing in practice. It's we've got to run at something, whether it's either just another conference championship or we win a ring.
Sure.
The freshman class has also been really great. I've seen it since the fall. I knew something was going to happen with them freshmen. And obviously the junior class, 7 kids, we got a good leadership, and when they come and we put it together, it's really good.
Yeah, we'll mention the 3 freshmen who have started since day one, been in the lineup, been pitching, been hitting, been doing it, you name it. We got Tanner Wade, who leads the team in innings pitched with 55. He's got a 0.51 ERA, struck out 66, and has walked 16, and it's not like he's some slouch at the plate either. He's hitting 338. He's got like 21 RBI. He's got like 10 extra base hits. He's had a pretty good freshman year.
Yeah, I mean, Tanner Wade is definitely a special player. I think he approaches the game very maturely in his own personal preparation. That's paid dividends to him. And I know it's a broken record, but he's a workhorse in the weight room. These guys will tell you when we got in the weight room for the first 2 weeks. I kind of let those guys do their thing in terms of matching up with guys. And as a coach, you always want some younger guys to go with the olders and pull them along. But some of these guys like Jonathan and Eli over here, they're lifting a lot more weight than others. And so, but it was really quick to see after 1 or 2 days, hey, Tanner needs to be pushed by these guys. And sure enough, after week 1, week 2, Tanner's squatting, maybe 25 to 50 pounds less than these guys. But, it was really cool to see those freshmen. Same with Jacob Grimm, and Chase was a football guy, but when he could get in there, he would. And I think certain types of players gravitate to certain type of players, right? And it's kind of neat when you're a coach. You get to sit back and see how that all transpires, and things fall the way they're supposed to, and things take place. But Tanner's had a great year. I never expected that we were going to ask him to throw 55 innings. Obviously, some things took place, and Wood Parker unfortunately hadn't been able to throw as much as we had hoped and expected. But Tanner's answered the call, done incredible. And then offensively, we felt, even in the fall, he was going to be a big piece of even replacing, like you talked about, a Tanner Goodwin who hit a 330 last year and drove in 30 runs. So Tanner stepped into that role really nicely and helped us out offensively as well.
Jonathan, you're the catcher. When did you know Tanner was not your everyday freshman?
I knew that when he would actually do pitching lessons with Coach Van Meter my sophomore year. He would come out after our practices, and I'd just catch his bullpen. Okay. But I knew that was his 8th grade year. I was like, this kid's getting ready to come to East. I'm like, and he's sitting pretty good on the mound, especially with his fastball, really good breaking ball. I'm like, he's going to be something good. Whether it's he pitches 5 innings or 55, like didn't matter. He was going to do something.
And honestly, I got to give him credit to his 4th pitch that he's really perfected or fine-tuned this year is his cutter. His cutter has been really our out pitch to right-handed hitters, which in our conference there's a lot more of. So, he's got a really good cutter that we like to go to, and he gets ahead in the count, and he could throw it in an 0-0 count, 0-2 count, doesn't really matter. But I think that, and JP can attest to that in the bullpen sessions, his confidence with those secondary pitches has really elevated his game on the mound.
I recall, and we can talk more about the West Carteret game because you mentioned last night, Coach, how much that stands out in your mind as far as the undefeated record. But the thing that stands out to me about that game is not just the fact y'all were down 4-0 going into the bottom of the 7th and end up winning 5-4 in 10 innings. But Tanner takes and what game is this? The year 4 or 5?
This is game 10.
Game 10. Okay, so you're pretty deep into it. But Tanner takes the mound in the 7th, pitches 4 innings, shutout. And I think he gave up 3 or 4 hits or something like that.
Yeah, and I think 3 hits, 2 of which were JJ, Josh Johnson, which again, like I told you, in my opinion, top 10 hitter in the state. Yeah. So, and we had him 2 strike counts twice. Just a tough out. So,
and then he hits what
he hits the triple that will eventually score the go-ahead run
Tanner does,
to win.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But the thing that stood out to me about that game is from both sides of the bridges, from the east side of the bridges and the west side of the bridges, it wasn't so much the response of what he did, which was phenomenal for a freshman year, but everybody said from the first pitch when he took the mound, people were like, that didn't look like a freshman. Mm-hmm. Not talking about size, just like the countenance, his demeanor, like bulldog. He was going out there and was going to get it done.
Yeah, I mean, so we had talked to him, we had talked to Brian, we had talked to Lucas, which has been our 3
Brian
horses.
Hatter, Lucas Darn.
Yes. And the plan was, Brian to give us a good effort. We were hoping to get 4 or 5 out of him, hand the ball to Lucas to close it out. Tanner was going to get the ball the next day. In a conference matchup with some rain that week, we ended up playing 3 back-to-back. we had Jones Sr. on Thursday and Friday. And when we got, to where we got to, we stopped Steyern at 45 pitches again because we knew we had 2 conference games, and kind of looked around at each other like, we got a chance to win this game. We got to go to our next best, which was Tanner. Actually, I'm sorry. We actually pieced it together with Jacob Grimm I think he got us 2 outs to get out of that 6th inning. And,
another freshman.
Another freshman. And so we were like, okay, we're going to run Grimm back out there. And when we tied it up, we just, again, when you have a freshman come down to the dugout and tell you, I want the ball, it's hard to say no. Especially like you said, you talk about the maturity, the demeanor, and as a coach, JP talked about it. You know the work he's put in outside of the practice time with the team. I've seen it since he was in 8th grade. You feel really confident giving him the ball. And so we handed it to him in the 7th, hoping that, hey, 30 pitches, and we're going to hold you off for tomorrow. And we got to 30 pitches, and we were now in the 8th or 9th, and we said, okay, 45 pitches. We got to have you for Friday. And thank goodness he got out of there on pitch number 44. But, again, when you think about it, 4 innings, 12 outs, and 44 pitches against one of the best offenses, in 3A East. I don't know where West is going to end up, but they're going to be top 10. I think they're competing with Swansboro right now to win that conference.
Sure.
So just a ton of credit for that role, and what an environment. I mean, on the road against your rival, 14 years old, that's pretty good.
Well, that's one of those games. If you left early, you missed out
Right.
on the good one. Yeah,
Exactly.
Broke an 11-game losing streak that night. I think it had lost, was it 17 of the last 18? Yeah, going back to 2013. I talked to Coach last night after the game, Eli, and he said if he had to pick a game this season where, okay, we might go undefeated, that was that game. Did you get a sense from that night too that was the case?
Oh yeah, for sure. When we were down 4-0, I even was worried. I was like, dang, this undefeated season might even be over. And then we started putting hits together, and it was crazy. I've never seen anything like it. 4 runs. The winning percentage, 4 runs in the 7th, is really low, and it was crazy just to work together to get that dub.
We've described games before where momentum shifts and you can literally feel it in the air. I'm sure that was one of those nights where, as soon as those hits start getting pieced together, a couple of those runs. I mean, that's.
And especially, that night too, it was kind of a weird situation with pitching and substituting. Our left fielder Bennett Ferguson had actually come out of the game in the 2nd or 3rd inning due to pitching changes, and we had told him, to kind of stay hot, stay loose. You're probably going to get another opportunity at some point. Just stay loose. And sure enough, we got some base runners on, had an opportunity. His spot came back up, told him to go in there. He hits a big 2-out, 2 RBI single, and it flips the lineup over to none other than this guy, Eli Jenkins. And like you said, talking about momentum, you feel it. You don't even see it, you just feel it. And as a coach, I can remember once Bennett hit that ball to score 2 and get us within reach. We had the tying run on second with Jenkins coming up. As a coach, I was content right there. And I know
this is
you
the best.
probably
Yeah,
would talk
sure.
to me and say, well, maybe Eli strikes out or lines out and you're frustrated, and I would have been. But as a coach, I don't know where else you would have wanted to be with him and JP coming up.
Yeah.
So we obviously tie it up. He hits a 2 RBI double, and the rest is history. But just a really cool night for those guys. And I think, even building off last year, we played them at our place. The environment at East Carteret, their sophomore year, Jenkins led off the game with a triple and scored on the next pitch on a pass ball. It was a 1-1 game after 1. We felt like, we had them on the ropes there, and that's something we talked about in preparation for that game, just understanding the environment that one run doesn't change who we're going to be as a team and our style. And, it's hard as a high school kid. It's hard, when you're hearing the stories, and that's what makes athletics great at the high school and college level, but especially in a small town, you don't want to let mom and dad down. You don't want to let your buddies down and your teachers. And so the weight of 1 or 2 runs feels a lot larger in a rivalry game than it does maybe against a North Lenore or an Aiden Grifton. So for those guys to overcome a 4-0 deficit is incredible.
The other 2 freshmen, Chase Roberson, starter since day 1 at shortstop.
Yes, sir.
Jacob Grimm, starter since day 1 at second base.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there are nights when pitching mound, shortstop, and second,
freshman
9th graders.
Yeah, so kind of weird. Grimm had a really good fall. We really felt like him and Chase were going to compete it out at shortstop, and they did. We always just were concerned with the size and the strength with Grimm. Was he going to be strong enough to hit at the varsity level? And sure enough, he proved us all wrong. I think he's hitting a 343 or 345 on the year. A lot of credit to him, and just his maturity as well and his approach to the offensive side of the game. But long story short, Jacob Grimm's like the Swiss Army knife. He can catch, he can pitch. He actually has played or started at third base 1 or 2 games. He's our backup shortstop, and so that's tough too. I mean, my goodness, to play 5 and 6 positions. It's funny because when we started back in February, we were getting ready for our first scrimmage against Dixon. Actually had an argument with my assistant coach because he wanted him to get some reps in the outfield because of how athletic he is, and saying that he may be a better outfielder than he is an infielder. And me being selfish, being the infield coach, I didn't want to give up his good hands and his feet. So I had to tell my friend, my assistant coach, Coach Griffiths, hey, I know you want him, but I'm not giving him up. And so Grimm's had a great year, and Chase, it's hard. Chase is a 3-sport athlete, which is awesome. It's a testament to his athleticism. But Chase didn't get a lot of these reps that these two guys got, and especially Grimm. I mean, Grimm didn't miss a fall workout. He got a ton of reps with us outside of the constraints of February 12th opening day, for the high school. So when Chase showed up, we knew the abilities, but it was to be seen if he was going to show it fast enough compared to the guys that maybe had 2 or 3 months ahead of him. And Chase did a great job of that. I think he's bounced around between our 2-hole, our 5-hole, and we got to have him at the top of our lineup because of his instinctual base running. I mean, Chase last night hit 30 stolen bases for a freshman. I was joking, making the comparison to Eli. They are very similar in their approach on the bases. I always tell our guys to trust your instincts. If you're wrong one time, you get thrown out, that's okay. I'd rather you do that than stop and doubt yourself. You're just going to get yourself in so much more trouble that way. But Chase has had a great year. I think he's hitting a 350 roughly. 362, even better. So,
on the team in runs.
And the crazy thing is Chase can pitch. I mean, we've worked Chase out in the bullpen, and I've actually told him, listen, man, we're fortunate we got 9 arms. You are just too valuable to us defensively at shortstop right now, and I do think as his career at East Carteret progresses, we'll eventually see him on the mound, whether it's next year or his junior year. But he's been, I think, and our catcher will attest to this too, kind of a nice addition to and a trust factor as a catcher. JP his freshman year threw out 12 out of 13 runners.
Nice.
And a lot of credit to JP's. He's a 1.9 to a 2.05 pop guy, but it also helped throwing the ball to Jacob Nelson, who's 6'2" and 215 pounds, and is not scared of catching that ball in traffic. Right, and so when Chase arrived, it was kind of funny. We talk about in the weight room and guys matching up.
Sure.
I can remember overhearing a funny conversation between JP and Chase, where it's, hey man, when I throw that ball, your job is to catch it. So give me a shot. So I don't know the exact numbers, but JP's thrown out every bit of 75 to 80% of runners this year, and I know he'll give credit to Chase on that as well. It's a 2-man job. You can't throw it and catch it in this game. So kind of a funny story.
He's like, to be hurt, my call stealing percentage here.
That's right.
Got to keep it high. Eli, was there a point this season when you looked at it from center field and thought, dang, there's a freshman at shortstop, there's a freshman at second base, there's a freshman on the mound. This is kind of wild.
Yeah, it's. I mean, that was like me and JP freshman year, freshman catcher, freshman center fielder, and even Brian played a little bit of third, and Lucas played some right field. So I mean,
here we go again.
It's the same process, you know. I trust them. I trust all the guys, just as everyone equally, and they've proved me right. So I mean, it's gone good.
And the funny thing is, you walk out to the ball fields in the spring, and everybody's got their senior banners, up on the fence, and
just the one.
This team's 24-0.
Just one sitting up there.
One banner up there. You're like, wow, next year might be pretty decent too.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of a fear of turnover between now and.
Like it's 8 seniors.
Yeah.
Right. No, it's impressive, and it's kind of cool. He brought up, but I can remember my first year, their freshman year at East, and those first 2-3 games. I think we went to West Carteret the third or fourth game of the year, and it's like, wow, you're running 4 freshmen out there to start. We started Lucas that night, your freshman year, and Lucas's stuff was good. We kicked it behind him, had 3 or 4 errors in the first inning, and the game got away from us. But look at the dividends that it's paid. And
well, that's the freshmen only get better when you give them that chance and they can answer the call.
And the biggest thing for me, obviously, I didn't grow up in Beaufort, didn't grow up in Carteret County, but just being subjective. And these guys, I will attest to it from day one when I showed up. I told them the best 9 we're going to play. I didn't care whether you're a freshman or a senior. We're going to give ourselves the best chance to win, and it's paid dividends that way, and I think it's the only way to do it if you're going to be successful.
Poor JP and Eli, you haven't talked much about them this year. So you've been talking about pitchers all year. And rightfully so. The team ERA is 0.73. Now, not a player.
That's the whole team.
As Allen Iverson would say, not a player. Right. Not a player. The team. What do we got? We got 217 strikeouts, 68 walks. We've talked a lot about Tanner. Talk about Brian Hatter and Lucas Starn and what they've added to the mound this year.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Brian has come back in a strong way. He had a huge freshman year, threw over 40 innings, threw 2 huge playoff games, obviously at home in the first round when we beat Holmes. Went to Midway, threw a gem. I think he threw a 7-inning game in like 85 pitches. And like I said, 1 play away from going to the 4th round. So Hatter had a great freshman year. Sophomore year was a little bit unique just because with what we had personnel-wise, we really didn't have someone that we trusted at third base behind him. So we felt like we got worse when he pitched defensively, which is super hard for a 15, 16-year-old to understand. We got about 15, 16 games into the year, and I can remember Brian coming up to me after a practice saying, Coach, is there something I'm doing wrong? Is there a reason I'm not starting? Threw 40 innings last year. I threw in the 3rd round for you, and I said, Brian, you're a centerpiece for us at third base. It's a comfort level for our pitchers. We know what we're getting there. You're going to stick your chest in the ball. You're going to make that play. So we really used him in relief. All of his outings last year, if you look, I think he still had 11, 12 appearances. All in relief, and still put up great numbers. Proud of him there. But it was definitely a different role than what we expected, what he expected. But just being a team guy did exactly what we needed. And then this year, we knew he was going to be a frontline guy. We thought him and Wood Parker would kind of be the 1-2 punch. When Wood went down, he became the one, and Tanner right alongside of that. I think Brian's thrown close to 50 innings. The other big thing is, Lucas did hurt his hip flexor the last game of the basketball season, which was a big scare for us. That's a kind of a weird injury that you never know how long it's going to take to heal a hip flexor. And Lucas has a live arm, throws 4 pitches. And so thankfully we got him back 2.5 weeks, got the clear go-ahead from the doctor, and Lucas hasn't looked back. He's thrown 22 innings in relief. We've definitely determined that we like Stein more in that closing role and that relief role. I just think he does a really good job coming into tough environments, whether it's bases loaded or just commotion on the bases. 1 out, 2 outs, doesn't matter. Lucas does a good job of coming in, throwing strikes right away. And Lucas, I think if you look at the strikeout ratio, compared to innings pitched, is even higher than Tanner and Brian. So, I like to laugh because I'm a Braves fan. They really remind me of the Braves staff in the 90s. I mean, you got
Glavine and Maddox.
Yeah, you got Smoltz and Maddox between, Hatter and Tanner, and then you got Glavine, the finesse guy. And so it's really been cool to see as a coach, the 3 of them push one another in the bullpen and, even in between innings. Like, Steiner will play the outfield when Brian's pitching, and obviously Brian will play third when the other 2 are pitching. And you can almost hear them chattering. When they miss a location, they can almost correct themselves. And well, not almost, they do. And as a coach, it's kind of funny being able to sit back and see that after 2-3 years of being with these guys. whether they're leaking on the front side or a little bit of arm drag or just anything from a mechanical fix to something as simple as just, keep your hat on. Like how many times does Eli's hat fall off when he pitches? So
no, it's Brian. It's Brian's hat more now.
Probably worse, but the three of them. I mean, it's funny. I don't have the right nickname for them. I need to come up with one, but the three of them are hilarious to watch and just listen to because they hold each other accountable, which is what's really cool. They all are competitive. They want to have the lowest ERA. But what I love is that they're not chasing the wrong things like strikeouts. They know how to pitch, and they're not interested in personal gain. They just want to see the team win, which is great.
Yeah, Hatter with a 0.71 ERA. Lucas with a 0.32.
Yeah.
And then opposing batting averages, Lucas is holding them to .061.
Unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Yeah, and I mean, his last...
What was that, John?
I said, attaboy.
Yeah. I mean, his last 2 outings, he's gone 2 innings in relief, both games, 6 strikeouts both times.
Yeah, you're right. He's a 2-to-1 almost for his strikeouts to innings pitched.
So when you look at... You look at his ability to get swings and misses, obviously being left-handed, his ball naturally is going to run. Obviously you guys probably remember Brian Taylor, but being left-handed certainly helps that for sure.
And Lucas not a big kid.
Right. I mean, I can remember freshman year throwing him out on the mound. What was Lucas, like 5'6", 5'7"?
5'6", probably about
just a little guy, but hey, the heart of a lion.
Man, he got it done.
Yeah, I mean, he's a competitor, and that's what you love about him. When you throw him out there, he might be jawing more than anybody else at 5'7", so that's good.
Jonathan, talk about catching those 3 guys and the difference and what it's like.
Catching Brian, I'll start with Brian. Catching him is interesting. Brian's not one of those guys. He's not going to sit there and throw it 95 mile an hour at you. He's not going to try there and throw it as hard as he can. He's what we like to call a crafty pitcher.
He's Maddox.
With him, we like to get him to where if we can use his curveball and his changeup, we will. But he can throw the fastball. When it comes to Tanner Wade, he's a guy that you tell him anything to throw, he'll throw it. Whether you got a 3-2 count, most time everybody wants to throw a fastball. We'll throw Tanner a 3-2 curveball. We don't care because we know he's going to put it where we want it, either whether that's in the dirt or that's right at the dude's belt. Or like you got a 0-1 count and you throw him a fastball right at his stomach. Like it doesn't matter. And then with Lucas, it's fun. I could say it's fun to catch him because there's days where you can, like for me, I could sit up on the outside corner to a righty. I know it's going to be right there in my mitt. And then there's other days where I don't know where that ball's going. Like not hating on him, but there's some days I don't know where the thing's going. But then he'll realize if that's the day that he'll be leaking off his front side or whatever. And that's when he'll dial back in. He's like, all right, watch this. Next thing you know, here comes the slider. And that's going to run right into the righty's back foot. I mean, it's fun catching those guys because I've grown up with them. And a lot of them, I've caught a lot of innings.
Probably played down East Little League with those guys.
I was about to say, I played down East Cal Ripken with them. Yeah. And then, like, obviously, middle school, high school. I mean, I know what these guys can do. I know where they are in their headspace. So it's like, I can tell, like, if they're off one day. Like, I can tell, like, what's the problem. Like, Tanner Wade, for example, last night. He pitched, 6 innings before we
He went 6 innings, roughly 90 pitches. Yeah.
So he was getting fatigued. We knew it. So I went out there and talked to him. And I told him, I'm like, dude, you're fine. Just all you got to do is just think. Just don't think. Just do. And I think he ended up getting that third out.
Yeah, got out of it.
He got out of it, which was impressive.
And to give a lot of credit, to bounce off Jonathan there, Lucas's ability this year to make the in-game adjustment has taken his game to just new heights. We knew from freshman year his stuff was good enough. That's why we threw him out west as a freshman. But his ability to overcome the adversity, whether it's an error behind him, whether it's an umpire not giving him the call he wanted, or whether it's just like Jonathan said, leaking on the front side and being able to fix that on pitch number 5 versus pitch 35 has been special to see, and that's really the success behind, I think, the year he's had.
And we're giving all this love to Tanner and Brian and Lucas, but did any of them throw the last out and go 24-0 in the season?
Well, it's funny you say that. Jenkins right here, he was itching to get that close, man. Itching to get that ball.
Eli said, tonight I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And Eli was the closer last year.
So Eli was, and it's kind of weird how it worked out with us playing. The last conference games was Tuesday, Thursday. So both Brian and Lucas threw a little bit over the max, what they could, of 45 pitches. Originally, the plan was for Steiner to close us out, but he had thrown too many the night before. But yeah, Eli had been our closer. We had intentions of him being the closer this year. And coming into this year, we knew we had more pitching than usual, than we've had in 2 years. But we still thought, hey, Eli, if you could give us even 10 innings, it would be huge. If you would have told me in February he was going to throw 3 or 4, I would have laughed and said, and then if you would have told me he was going to throw 3 or 4 innings after Wood Parker got hurt, I would have said, you're still crazy. So, but that's a testament again to those other 3 guys. I know we talked a lot about them, but and Jenkins is ready. I mean, he's told me on many a nights, hey, Coach, if you need me, I'm ready. And he's never changed his approach in the bullpen. He throws 2 pens a week, just like every one of our guys. And, he's actually developed a cutter as well. So he's not just a 2-pitch guy like he was for 2 years. And so, last night was a perfect example of, when's the last time you threw? Like 6 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago? Jones. So it's been a while. And he's able to go in there, no free bases. We went 3 up, 3 down, if I'm not mistaken. He started 3-0 count, ended up striking the first guy out, but did a great job.
Eli, have you missed it, or has it helped you become more focused at hitting and stealing bases and stuff?
I enjoy hitting, and I'm playing center field. I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah.
I just like going out there to close and getting amped up.
Yeah. He wants the closer music to be playing when he wants out there.
Like Wild Thing, that's right.
Definition.
Well, I was looking last night, and it stood out to me. 24 games, you've given up 30 runs. And I was like, well, where does that compare to other great teams we've had in the county and great pitching staff? So last year, Croatan was 20-5. That pitching staff was as good as I've seen. Broderick Miller and Liam McFadden. They gave up 79 runs.
Wow.
2019 was Josh Plisco and Shai Geronimo.
Oh,
at
yeah,
West.
that's right.
They were lights out. They gave up 74 runs. 2009 is Croatan with the 23 wins that you all tied there and then surpassed. They go 23-2. That's Andrew Hales, Aaron Stahl, and Daniel Lewis. They gave up 41 runs in 25 games. So y'all got everybody beat. Now, there's more games to come, so I doubt we're going to stay in the 30s. Maybe, who knows, we'll see. But still, man, 30 in 24 games is wild stuff.
Yeah.
We were talking about chemistry earlier. Somebody was telling me, what lunches did we have here? First lunch, second lunch?
I got first.
I got second.
Okay, so Jonathan can talk about this more. Somebody was telling me, it was like, it's funny, you've talked a lot about it this year, Coach, the chemistry and the camaraderie and how it's played a part. They said when the school year started, they said the vast majority of them have second lunch. And they were all kind of scattered out there at the beginning of the school year, and they said it didn't take long for the group started to all come together. He said now they've all been together. Is that how it's been, Jonathan?
That's how it's been.
Yeah.
I mean, every day we're all at the same lunch table, just enjoying each other's company, joking, trying to just having a good time. I mean, because that's about the only time during the day other than baseball we can actually like hang around with each other and have fun. But
let's talk about fighting turkeys. What's that all about?
Man, a turkey pecked Brian one time, and Brian's a little crazy. So
Brian is a wild outdoorsman, man. He can hunt and fish with the best of them.
turkey thug.
Everybody fighting him a little bit.
Where was this at when you started fighting this turkey?
Tanner Wade's house.
Okay.
We go there pregame every time.
Okay. And has that added to the chemistry and the camaraderie? Watching Brian Hatter fight turkeys?
You could say, yeah.
Okay, what else did I want to cover? What's the deal with the crane kick on the guys get a hit, they hit a double, and they go the flying crane.
The Karate Kid. Yeah.
We started that. What's that
No
all
can
about?
defend.
So it's actually a TikTok trend.
Okay.
So it's a TikTok trend that a bunch of we saw it and we were like, it'd be like funny to do or whatever. And so we done it the past couple of games, and we just had a good time doing it. It just came from a TikTok trend. So, I mean, there's nothing really special to it.
How about tell me about the first baseman here? Not a lot of baseball experience with the first baseman.
So, honestly, a lot of baseball experience, but Morgan Majors, we were unsure. At the beginning of the year, he's a big soccer guy,
Okay.
so two-sport guy, but
But
So-
there is a baseball background.
Yes, yeah. So
Okay.
Morgan had a great. He's had a great career at East Carteret. Really was our JV ace for the last 2 years. His freshman and sophomore year, he threw more than 30 innings both years. I think probably hit in their 3 or 5 hole both, and has had great numbers. And so when I kind of had heard a rumor going around that Morgan was thinking about not playing, we knew we had lost Tanner Goodwin.
That's what it was.
And so
he almost didn't play.
yeah,
right?
so he was kind of considering maybe doing some spring soccer. He's a high academic kid,
Okay.
and so I actually bumped into him at Food Line and bumped into him at church with his parents, and was like, "Listen, man, you got to play baseball. You are, you're a great kid, great teammate. The boys love you. This is going to be a lot of fun." And I said, "Come on, man, you play soccer in the summertime. I'll stay out of your way.
Right.
I'll support you in the fall." I said, "You got to give us a chance." And
It's a small school.
I
Got to get.
I gotta listen.
involved.
I gotta give credit to these guys because, and I know Eli's good buddies with Morgan, but Morgan has had a phenomenal season. I don't know that he has 1,000 fielding percentage. He should, but we call him the vacuum. The boy does not miss a ball in the dirt, and that's how we coach
and
our
a hair
guys.
away from not playing this
That's
year.
it. I mean, we literally going into the year. That was one of our biggest question marks was if Morgan doesn't play, who can play first base?
Oh, wow.
And
Wow.
so he has just done everything. And the boys, you talk about like firing up the team in the dugout. When Morgan picks a ball out of the dirt, you would have thought we just hit a grand slam because Morgan is he's our guy. So we love him. We're so glad he played. I know he's having a blast. He's been a huge part of what we've accomplished.
Yeah, how fun for him to join a program at this point. Like, I mean, he's along for the ride. It's going great.
Hey, I already told him the other day at practice. I think it was Monday or Wednesday. I said, "Listen, it's not optional. You're going to play next year."
I was saying,
I said, so I'm not even going to ask questions at the end of this year.
You're going to show up.
You're
right?
going to
Yeah.
show up.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I said, obviously he's a fall sport guy, so he's going to miss those fall workouts. And I said, we're going to come support you at soccer games
There you
too,
go.
bud. Like,
There you
we're going to
go.
be more intentional about getting out there for those guys. And he's like, "Coach, I wouldn't miss it for the world. This has been a blast." So I'm thrilled he decided
That's
to play.
awesome.
I know
I
his
wonder how many
parents were
times this occurred to him this year. Man, I almost didn't do this.
I'm sure a lot.
Yeah. 85 chances at first base, 1 error.
Incredible.
988 fielding percentage.
Wow.
It's pretty good. Had he played first before? Did he have any?
Yeah,
experience?
so
Okay.
he was our left-handed pitcher, first baseman, like I said, for the 2 years, his freshman, sophomore year. And honestly, we never doubted the defensive side. We really needed his arm pitching on the JV team last year. Or he came up with us. Actually, matter of fact, both years we pulled him up his freshman and sophomore year for the playoffs because he does everything the right way. The way he carries himself, the way he prepares. So it was no accident that Morgan Majors is our first baseman. We knew that as long as we could get him agree to show up. Hey, Morgan, we want you there. And you can still do soccer. Just give us 3.5 months a year. But
Well, let's touch on everybody on the team. We've only missed a few here. Wood Parker, you mentioned a couple times, coming in the season was going to be your number one. Transfer from Gramercy, had a great year last year and had some arm injuries this year. The lone senior on the team.
yeah, Wood's done a great job. Obviously disappointing for him. I know his heart is to be on that mound, and he's going to continue on at Sewanee School of the South and have opportunities to pitch. And we certainly are excited for him there. So unfortunately, with the shoulder injury, he's turned into our DH. Has done a great job in that role. DHing is not easy. You sit there for 2-3 innings at a time. I think he's ended the year right around a 330. Drove in probably 20 runs. So proud of him. Certainly glad that he was still able to be a contributor and participate. With his senior year, even with an injury.
Luke McIntosh, star quarterback, also
Yeah.
plays
Yeah.
Baseball and basketball. Another three-sport guy.
Yeah, Luke is probably the closest to Mr. Mariner since Jacob Nelson being a 3-sport guy. But Luke keeps our clubhouse light. He's kind of a goofball. We love him for that. But just extremely athletic, runs well, tracks the ball well. We always joke with Luke because he is a 3-sport guy and football is his love. We don't always get as much of Luke in the offseason that we would like. So it takes Luke sometimes a month to get going. I think he ended hitting about a 270, 280. I always joke with him. I said, you can hit a 330. but you're going to have to start hitting a baseball before February 12th, and he always laughs. And but can't say enough about Luke. He's played multiple positions again for us: center field, right field, third base. A very selfless guy, and a guy that you're happy to have on the bus, in the clubhouse, to just keep things lighthearted.
Good on the base path for y'all too.
Absolutely, yeah. Very instinctual as well. And I don't know exactly, but he's probably a 6'9" runner, so plus speed never hurts.
And Sam Humphreys.
Yeah, Sammy, man, really has done everything we've asked. He's a middle infielder for us. He's courtesy run a ton for JP this year. I think he's probably close to 15, 20 stolen bags.
Yeah, 13 stolen bases. I think he's like fourth on the team.
Yeah, and probably third or fourth in runs. Always running for Piner over there. So, going into the year, we didn't know. Again, last year he was our JV shortstop. Knew he could contribute and help us out defensively in the wheels. And so, super proud of Sammy and all he's done to help contribute to our team.
Yeah, we mentioned Bennett Ferguson earlier. If you were to rank the top 10 plays of the year for East Carteret, that triple that hit at East at West it might be 1 or 2 or 3, right?
Absolutely. I mean, we don't win that game without that hit.
Yeah.
So, just super proud of Bennett and his work ethic. He's a baseball guy. He works hard. He works really hard at what he does, and that hit was obviously a big one for him. And Bennett's a man of few words, so it was cool that night when we gave him some love. All you saw was teeth, just big smiles, and I know that moment is probably one him and his family will remember a long time.
All right, we've talked enough about the players. Tell us about Josh Van Meter, Eli Jenkins. What's it like playing for Coach? What kind of coach is he?
Man.
Let me leave the room real quick.
Maybe a lot of people will say he's maybe a hard butt. I think he just wants to win and pushes us to be our best. He never lets you get by with being given minimal effort. You're gonna have to give your best, or you're not gonna get through practice. So, I mean, you could see the season 24-0. I mean, you can see what happens when you work hard and always have someone to push you no matter what.
Yeah, I take it from Eli's answer. He's tough, huh, Jonathan?
Yes. Yes, he pushes us to our limits every day during practice, and because we have a saying, leave no doubt, because in a game, if we don't push ourselves in practice, what makes us think that we're going to push ourselves in a game? So in practice, we try and simulate what it's really going to be like in a game, so that when we get to these situations like the West game where we're down, what was it, 4-0?
Right.
Or we're down 4-0 going into the 7th. It's like we've done this before in practice. Like, this is nothing different. And especially going into playoffs, like we're prepared for almost any situation they throw at us. It doesn't matter if the first inning they put up 4 runs on us or if they put up 1. Like, we're going to find a way to get some more runs, and we're going to find a way to power through it.
What's it like, Eli, as the season's going on and the wins have started to pile up, seeing the crowd just get a little bit bigger, It's kind of hard to find a parking space now at East Carteret. Yeah, what's that been like to watch that grow?
It's crazy because I don't remember ever seeing the parking lot that full, and maybe playoffs freshman year, but last year I did not see it that full. And over time this season, I say from the start, it's gotten bigger and bigger, and I've seen people I've never seen before. And we're all getting compliments. I got a text message last night from somebody I didn't even have their number. So
nice.
And it's been really special this year.
How about the 90-91 group? Have they reached out? Have they let y'all know what they think about this?
Yeah, it was kind of cool last night. You go ahead, JP.
So, Carol Lewis, who played for that 91 group.
Whose son is actually in our program right now.
Oh, wow.
Will Lewis.
Oh, wow. Full circle.
Yeah. He reached out to me and my mom last night and was saying, basically, congratulations. You'll remember this for the rest of your lives. And it basically was like almost, I want to say it was almost like thanking us for beating it, but at the same time, it was like he was just happy that we did it. And then obviously the community that's either watched that season or that was part of it, they've done nothing but congratulate us. I mean, you can't really say much, and some people want to say we play no competition, but if we played no competition, then wouldn't it have been done before 2020 2025. That's my thing. Everybody wants to say we played no competition and that it's easy.
But it hasn't changed, you're saying.
But
the
it hasn't
competition.
changed.
This is the same
The
competition.
competition has not changed.
You play the
Right,
same
right,
conference
right,
every
right,
year.
right.
We play the
Correct.
same conference every year, and people want to say that because of our record and the amount of like runs we'll get per game. Because it's not close games like 2-1 games. A lot of our games have been, some of them have been double digits.
Yeah, our guys, I mean, we chuckle. We got a little bit of a chip on our shoulders, when we hear that comment, because people tell us all the time that, this conference is better than yours or that. And, I wouldn't disagree. A West Carteret, a Swansboro, their conference is a little stronger, or Northland Nor, Aden Grifton, or Washington. And, Jonathan made the point, we were driving over here today, then why didn't they beat us, right? And so, we don't get the opportunity to choose who we play in conference. We were very intentional with our non-conference opponents this year, and we're fortunate enough to beat them all. And so we're confident whoever, stands in way. I don't know exactly who it will be yet, but our confidence is something we're proud of, for sure.
Yeah, this has all been fun and light and lots of love and stuff. But when you're 24-0 and you're undefeated and you're getting a lot of attention, I'm sure 90-95% of the county's behind you. But I'm sure there might be 5 or 10 that's not. Have we got a little bit of hate? Have we had a little bit of haterade coming our way this year?
I'm sure there's some of that. I mean, we do a great job, and we talked about it this week actually because there was so much coverage. I mean. We're, as much as it's been cool for our guys and coaching staff and community to get some spotlight on the news and different things, let's try to focus on what we're doing on the inner circle here in our clubhouse, and not get caught up in the outside noise, because I'm sure you're spot on, JJ, that there are people out there that want to see us fail, and as natural as that is, and it could happen, right? And so I think it just elevates the chip and really makes us want it that much more, as we prepare for next Tuesday and a state playoff run.
I've been doing this a long time. Zach's been doing this a long time. We've covered not a ton, but some teams that were undefeated, and it's funny because you turn the tape recorder off at the end of the interview with the coach, and some of them are, I want it more than anything. I want us to finish undefeated. And some of them are like looking around, making sure everybody's doing, like, I really hope we lose. And usually it's one of two reasons: is
kicking the pants before you go in.
Yeah,
sure.
Coaches have told us, well, man, these kids, I don't know how to get in the classroom because their heads are getting so big that they're reading the headlines and stuff. I like to see them get a big slice of humble pie. But the other one, I know that doesn't apply to your crowd because you told me what kind of kids you got. But the other one is more apt probably for you all, is the pressure that builds.
Sure.
And you all, if you are 23-1 right now, it's a whole different narrative than being 24-0.
Well, just think about the opponents they'll play in the playoffs who will want to knock
everybody
off.
wants to be the first.
Absolutely.
Right?
And we've talked about that even since halfway through conference run when we were playing a Pinetown and a Pamlico who is conference rivals.
Right.
And even a Havelock who's traditionally played us very hard. Last year we played a 10-inning game there. The year before was a 13-inning game there. So our kind of other saying we've joked with each other is, don't let them be the one. Don't give them the privilege of having that story of being the first one. And it's been kind of neat after each game, each step.
Was there a point this year when you were like, I wouldn't mind so much if we lost this game? It might be good for the kids, or you wanted, let's go?
I think for us, once you get to that midpoint in the year and people are really starting to talk about it, I definitely see the coach's side of it where you're going to learn a lot from a loss, and you want that. But I also think once we got to the halfway point for us and where we had already accomplished, some big non-conference wins, tailored with positioning in the conference standings to where we were going to pretty well be in a good spot with how conference play was, that I was more fearful it would hurt our confidence more late in the year that versus losing a game, 5-6 games in.
Sure.
So at that point it was let's make, I was laughing at hearing their answer. I thought for sure they'd say I was a player's coach. No, I'm just kidding. but I'm just joking. But honestly, I think I probably in the last 6 weeks have pushed harder than any team I have coached.
Wow.
Because selfishly too, I really want it for them. And I was fortunate enough to win a state championship my junior year in high school. And when we came back as seniors, we kind of hit that cruise control, and I do live with a pile of regret on that. And I don't want that for these guys. It is personal for me. I know how much they put into it. Their families have supported them. Baseball it's in the water down there. Baseball is just what you do if you're from down east and from Beaufort. So I know what it means to the community for these guys, and if I'm just the mean old cuss, I'm okay with that. But these guys are definitely, going to see the fruits of those labor, I think, and they already have, right?
Yeah.
24-0. So I think a loss late in the year might have done more damage than good.
Sure. And once you got in the conference, you definitely didn't want to lose. Sure. Yeah. First 5-6 games, like you said, Aiden Grifton, North Lenore, that might not have been the worst thing in the world.
And that's why, honestly, it's funny how it worked out with weather. That we were supposed to play North Lenore at home. We got over an inch of rain here in Beaufort, and it was like, oh, bummer, we're not going to get this game in. We really wanted to play. It was a good measuring stick game for us. And Coach Schreier called and said, listen, we're dry. We didn't get a drop. Come on the road. And I remember some people in the building, some teachers looking at me and being like, you sure you want to do that? It's a huge risk. Like, we know you're good at home, but can you do it on the road? And it's like, if we're going to play these guys, like, let's go play these guys. And sure enough, we went up there and we beat them 7-1. And that was a big night for us, I think, as a team, too, looking around the circle like, let's do this thing. And I know that was early on in the year, but that was a huge confidence booster for us.
Well, also when it comes to strength of schedule and stuff, you can look on Max Preps, where you all rank. Zach Nally might have mentioned that in his column today, but it is what the numbers speak for themselves as far as your strength of schedule. But to your credit, Coach, and I've been told this on the side a little bit and it not just apply to you, but any coach at East Carteret in the history of East Carteret, it's not always easy to get people to come to Beaufort.
No,
it's not like there's for lack of trying to get a tough schedule this year.
100%, and even just take a step further to get JV games. We are the only team in the conference with a JV team for 2 years straight now, and unfortunately, convincing somebody to come to East Carteret is not the easiest thing in the world. A lot of times, to be completely honest with you, what I'm stuck doing is, hey, we'll come to you this year if you promise to come to us next year, or just give me your word. If you come this year, I promise you we'll come next year. So that's kind of the arrangement we have with Little Washington. That's how I could convince Coach Skinner and Aiden Grifton to come to us. Okay. It's tough. I know we're kind of in the corner of God's earth down there at East Carteret, but it's hard when you're looking at the competition around you and looking for good competition. Sometimes you got to go further. You got to go to places like Wilmington or Greenville, and nobody likes to hop on the bus, especially in midweek. That's tough on kids. It's tough on teachers and parents when you got homework piling up. But you got to do those things if you want to be successful in your program. You've got to play JV games. You've got to give those guys an opportunity to get 30, 40, 50 at-bats as freshmen, sophomores. As much as I would love every freshman to be these two guys, or Jacob Grimm, or Chase Robertson, or Tanner Wade, it's just not realistic, right? There's 9 positions on a field, and so we have other really good competitive freshmen. Will Lewis has a huge, bright future ahead of him. Caden McCoy, Thomas Polizzi, these are guys, names that nobody's heard yet, that we know are going to be huge pieces to the puzzle in the next year or two, that without a JV program, I don't know. Maybe they give it up. Maybe they go play golf. Maybe they just lose the passion for it. So, yes, we, not for a lack of trying, have done absolutely everything in our power. I've been on the phone. I've texted. Hey, we'll take you out to dinner after. You can get L's East if you want. I try to sell it. So, we've put a lot of time and work even into our facility. We've rebuilt the mound. We've got some dugout rail padding coming in. We put, a whole new outfield banner and fencing in. So we want our facility, our home field, to be first class the way we run our program, that when people do show up to play, not only are they excited because they know they're going to get a tough game with tough competition, but I want them to know that it's going to be worth the trip, so to speak. No different than maybe when you talk about other perennial powerhouse schools like a Whiteville or like a North Lenore. I mean, these guys will tell you their facility was first class. It was beautiful. And every guy leaving there after talking about how pumped we were to get a win on the road, they all talked about, hey, this was one of the nicest fields we've ever played on. And so we want to get to that. We're being intentional about it. And I think the more competitive you are, looking at next year's, essentially playing conference play next year is going to mean nothing. You don't get an automatic bid. RPI is going to, rule the world, unfortunately, in my opinion. But in saying that, people should want to call me. People should want to play East Carteret because we've been successful for 3 straight years. We've won over 50 games or almost 60 games in 3 years, and playing in a traditionally weaker conference. We should be well above 500 in conference play, if not perfect, like this year. So if you're out there and you hear this, come play at East Carteret. We need games. So, it's definitely something that's a challenge to balance the RPI versus playing in a split 1A, 2A conference.
Jonathan, entering the postseason 24-0, say as opposed to 23-1, do you feel more pressure being undefeated going into the postseason, or is it the same? Your goal was the same regardless? The
goal is the same regardless. Personally, we try not to really think about record because the more you think about it, the more in your head you're going to get, and that's the last thing as a baseball player and personally that any of us need, because the more we're in our head, the more that we're going to think, oh, if I mess this play up, then coach are going to get mad at me. Like that's the last thing we need to think about. The thing we need to think about is go in there, play our game, and win baseball games. That's all we need to think about when it comes to us getting on that field.
Is that the same for you, Eli?
For sure, yeah. Like last year, I think once we won that conference championship, is like we didn't even look past it. Like we were like, that was the goal last year, and now this year it's like, okay, we won it. Now what's next? You know, so we're looking past it and trying to do bigger things than that.
All right, let's wrap up with some fun stuff here. Baseball, superstitions, what do we have? Did anybody have any crazy stuff?
We've got all kinds of mascots and necklaces. And, we had a fun day after we won the conference. We took the boys over to Mac Daddy's, and, they're playing games. We did some go-karts, ate some pizza, all the fun stuff. And I'm like, come on, fellas, it's time to wrap it up. Let's get back home, and we get on the bus, and there's like 7 new mascots or whatever that mascots. I don't even know if I'm sure that I don't know all of them, but these guys certainly keep the clubhouse.
Do we have anything, Jonathan? You like had to put on the pads a certain time, lace our shoes up, any stuff, weird stuff?
Not really weird.
Not weird to him.
No, usually before every game, my thing is like I want to stretch, throw, and everything, and then right before IO, like a lot of catchers when they take IO, they'll put on their full gear. I don't like to do that. Okay. I only put on my shin guards, so I guess you call that a superstition of mine. And then something that we all like to do after is like go to Waffle House after games. So that's kind of like one of our superstitions, you could say, is like after a decent win, we're going to go to Waffle House.
How about you, Eli? You got anything?
Man, there's a few. I mean, BP before the game, so I've thrown it, I think, every time.
Okay.
That's a good one. Yeah.
I wear the same arm sleeve every game.
Okay.
Nothing too crazy, man.
Yeah. We're not touching things 5 times or anything like
that. We're not rubbing chicken bones.
Right.
We got a dog toy. What's it called?
Oh, Beavis?
Yeah, it's this little beaver. I squeak it pregame,
Yeah, it's like one of those little dog toys.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about nicknames on the team? Who's got the best nicknames? that we can say on
All right, so I'll go ahead and give you 2 funny ones, and these guys will appreciate. One of them's on JP, and JP, this is a testament really to him in the weight room, but we call him Wide Glide because
that's what you call me. Yeah. You haven't heard the team one yet.
And then these guys, they'll get a kick out of this to share this one. Is I guess their freshman year, I guess I was a little harder on them than I am now. But they used to say that I was the angry meter instead of Van Meter.
That's fantastic.
That one hasn't come out yet this year, but I'm seeing some looks over there. So there's probably more than just that one. I don't know if they're podcast approved, but I know there's been a couple times at practice where I've had to get on a guy or two or the team, and I've heard a kid or two say that, oh, here comes the angry meter coming out again. So
Tanner Wade's got his is we call him the Pilgrim, because
Caillou.
Caillou, that's another good one.
And you guys have something with Betty too, I believe, with him living in Betty. I can't
We call
remember.
Brian Davis Bullet.
We got Brian Davis Bullet,
Jonathan King Jape.
King
Yeah.
Jan.
Well, what's Pilgrim and Caillou? Where does that come from?
That's the
cartoon.
child.
Okay.
He looks just like
So Tanner Tanner buzzes his hair like
Okay,
quite a
the
bit.
Caillou look.
Yes.
And it's short enough. He looks like Caillou, and then Pilgrim came from when he finally grew his hair back out, and he literally has like if you put one of those big like stock hats on him, he would look like a pilgrim. And so it's funny because during like when he's hitting, if he's like not say he's going like 0 for 2 on the day or something like that, we'll yell at him from the dugout, find your Pilgrim rock, or your Plymouth rock, I should say.
There it is.
Well, I'm thinking now you need a poster in the dugout like 1 through 10 and have the angry meter decide
This is where I'm at.
It's like the elementary kids. Yeah, you're on green today. Now you're on yellow.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, every time we've had a team in here, I've done yearbook superlatives, so you all are going to have to play along too. So class clown, who is it?
Probably Luke.
Luke McIntosh.
Yeah.
Class clown.
Luke.
Life of the party.
Ooh.
Chase.
Chase Robinson.
Chase.
Yeah.
Chase.
Chase with the blonde hair too.
Oh, yeah, he won't shave that thing. It's crazy. Been begging him to cut that
Thinks
blonde
he's a
hair all
wrestler,
year.
man.
He loves it.
Most likely to succeed.
Ooh.
Probably Morgan Majors.
Probably Morgan
Majors,
Majors. He's the scholar.
Yeah, yeah.
He's the scholar.
Most fashionable.
Ooh.
Probably would.
Wood Parker.
Probably Wood,
Yeah, we'll
yeah.
give him Wood.
Yeah.
Most likely to need bail money.
Brian.
Probably
Hatter.
Hatter. Definitely Brian. Yeah.
I mean, not for an accident.
Not for being
Yeah.
for messing with turkeys.
Yeah.
Most talented, maybe somebody can dance, they can sing, they can play an instrument, they're an artist, something like
Sammy
that.
Yeah,
Humphries.
Sammy can play
Sammy.
guitar.
Sammy can play
Sammy
the
is
guitar
talented.
really well.
Nice. This only applies to Wood this year, but next year it would apply to like 90% of the team. Who's going to have the worst case of senioritis?
Lucas
really?
Stein.
Brian.
And Lucas Stein and Brian Hatter.
It's
Brian's
probably
already
Lucas.
got it.
It's probably Lucas. Yeah.
Who's most addicted to their phone?
Ooh.
Chase
Robertson.
His was dead last night on the ride.
Chase Bennett or Grimm. Jacob Grimm.
Who's most likely to drop their phone in the toilet, aka who's the most accident prone?
Jacob Grimm.
Yeah,
Definitely
Jacob.
Definitely, that boy loses his wallet, his phone, his
Lessons
debit
hard.
card. It's like, if his head wasn't attached, it grim
Who's
for
most
sure.
likely to sink through a hurricane?
Probably Bennett.
Yeah, he sleeps every
Yeah, Bennett sleeps on every road
I was
trip.
gonna say
You look
Bennett.
back and it's like, where's Bennett at? He's asleep again.
I'm guessing I know the answer to this. Most likely to survive the Hunger Games.
Brian.
Yeah,
Brian.
Hatter.
Definitely.
Yeah. Best dancer?
I don't even
I'll
know.
give it a Luke. Luke or Lucas. Either one.
Yeah,
of them.
one of those two.
Who's the biggest gossip on the team?
I'll let them answer. I know.
Who's
that.
talking about you? Okay, I see.
Do we want to name drop that?
Go ahead, name him, put it out there.
We'll say Wood Parker.
Is that who it is, Coach?
Sure.
No, that's not who it is, really.
Keep it at that.
Yeah, we'll keep it at that.
Who's the biggest teacher's pet? Majors,
Possibly.
with the grades.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most talkative?
JP.
Yeah.
So I got to jump in here. His freshman year, the old joke we had with him is, I look at you, I see senior. I listen to you, I hear freshman. Because he never stopped talking.
Most dramatic?
Steyer.
Lucas.
For sure. Yeah.
Most likely to be late for class?
Probably Brian.
Brian. He was too busy
Anything.
turkey hunting.
Yeah.
I don't know. Brian doesn't come late to practice though. I don't know. It's a tough one.
I would say.
We've been on time.
I mean, he's on time for the most
I'm
part.
guessing I know the answer to this one. Most opinionated? Yeah, that's what I was thinking. If he's most
Finer.
talkative, then-
Finer.
Yeah. Probably goes
Probably.
hand in hand, right?
Probably.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for coming in today. Congratulations on 24-0, setting county records, school records, and good luck to you in the playoffs. We'll be following you.
Thank you guys
you.
for having us. Means a lot. Thanks again.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate your time.
Of course. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks,
He goes,
guys.
I just interviewed some older guys in their 70s from 1965 Swansboro basketball team.
Oh,
that
nice.
went to the Final Four.
Yeah.
And their coach was also a hard butt.
That's a new word. I like that.
Decades later, they still appreciate it because, of course, it's easy to.
Sure.
Much easier
50 years later.
the heat of fall when you don't want to be, or whatever. But no, it's funny that you guys brought that up and that dynamic because they all said it. Every single one of them now in their 70s. He would get on you, but it was you got the best out of you and that sort of thing. And these these 24-0s, regardless of what happens, these are the kind of things that you remember into your 70s.
What year is this for you coaching?
So head coach, it would be my 5th year as a head coach,
Okay.
but total years coaching, it'll be year 8.
Are you softening? Are you hardening?
100% softening.
Yeah.
But you got to realize too, I had a child that made me
it.
soft, but also, I was pretty,
Sure.
I was pretty, hell bent on whatever at 22 years old. You think you know it all, yeah.
How old are you now?
29.
Yeah.
Yep. So I'll be
that's a big
30.
difference.
Yeah, I'll be 30 in October, and
Okay.
it's funny because my wife and my mother and even my mentor, who really brought me under my wing, Gary Smith. He jokes with me. I see him at the holidays. A lot of times he has a Christmas party, and he tells the story religiously about my first year coaching alongside of him, and really just wearing umpires out. And he's like, you finally grew up and matured and realized that you're not going to get everyone, and knowing when, and I think these guys will even tell you this year I've been a lot more successful. I think I'm like 3 out of 4 when I do have my arguments.
You just nod.
I got it.
Picking your spots.
Yes, picking your spots and being a little smarter. So
Picking your battles.
Yeah.
That's part of being a parent too.
Yeah.
definitely.
It doesn't get easier as they get older, Josh. I'll tell you that.
You got 2?
I've got an 11. I guess he'll be 12. Okay, he's 11 and a half. Yeah,
Yeah.
a 9-year-old, and it's
That's awesome.
it's interesting, man. As they get older, you're like, oh, okay, I guess you got your own.
I got number
You got
2
your own
coming in
set of
October.
Do you?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So,
30,
yeah.
30 and a second kid.
Yep.
You guys are gonna have to get on them.
Oh, yeah,
they
they're-
come back.
How many seniors in next year's lined up?
7.
Ooh.
Is it 7 or is it 8?
7.
It's 7 juniors right now.
7.
That's going to
Okay.
be West Carteret volleyball pro kind of lacrosse
Sure,
vibe.
Yes.
Yeah, the year.
Yeah.
It's all seniors.
Well, and that's what's crazy is we all thought next year was
Right.
the year we would do this.
Right.
To have it happen a year early is great.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
what an opportunity.
Just icing on the cake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we were joking with this the other day with JP in class, but I mean, a legitimate chance to win 50 games in 2 years.
Wow.
Crazy.
I told somebody the other day, I said the funny thing will be is next year's team could probably beat the snot out of this year's team, but next year's team you might go 20 and
Right,
7
that's the
or
way it
something.
goes.
And
Still have a
people are like,
great
oh, they're not
year.
good.
Right,
They're not good.
right.
You're like, oh my God, they're twice a couple of them
Yeah.
out. There's no
Yeah.
contest.
And I'm hoping selfishly I want to win number 100 with this crowd. That would be cool.
Of their class.
Just with their class because,
Wow.
being with them for 4 years, it would be special to me to accomplish that. And we can do it. We'll need about 20 couple more. So.
That's what happened with the basketball team. They went undefeated, lost in the state championship game. Next year they lost 2 regular season games, but won the state
I
title.
know. Every
They
time
were
I
so
go
much
back
better.
in the max
Yeah.
The
reps,
two lost year was better than way better than
I always
undefeated.
forget
Yes.
which year to look at because I think it's
Undefeated.
going to be the
Right.
That year,
the first
yeah.
one. Yeah.
And you all could 100% be the same.
We could be the-
score, where
yes,
you lose
yes.
maybe a handful of games.
Yeah.
But
Well, look at the East Carteret girls soccer team. That's one that from 14 when they went to the state title game.
Mm-hmm.
That's one when you go back into max preps and you see 12 and 6 and 1 or whatever.
Right.
You're like, that's not the year, but
Right.
that's
Yeah.
the year. They just.
So-
I think they were like 8 and 6 when they went to the playoffs. It just
Wow.
you just
Got hot at the right time.
yeah. It happens.
although I don't know, it might be tough to lose next year. It was all you got coming back, man.
I know it.
Yeah.
I know it.
Unless you get some crazy Easter tournament or something.
Right,
Playing
right.
freaking Raleigh
Well, I'm
or-
hoping with Easter
Wilmington
being
or
pushed up back to what I call normal. Easter was so late this year.
Right.
We had 16 teams come in, which is typical. We get 12 to 16 that come to Carteret County. This year we had 6. So
Oh, wow.
the options, and obviously Croatan and West can't play each other because of the conference. So
Right.
I had to beg Southwest Onslow and Havelock to give us 1 game each. That's all they played.
Oh, wow.
Just to fill the schedule, it was tough. So thankfully Wilson Hunt came. Martin County was a late ad,
Okay.
and Ocracoke was a late ad. But we were kind of looking around going, man, we might not be able to do this because everybody's spring break was so different. I think Craven County went on spring break in March. So it was like, we typically get a bunch of teams that can come down. Last year, South Central, Conley always would come, and the Wilmington crowd, Hoggard's always been there. And
Do you already have next year's schedule set, or are you still?
I actually had 2 texts walking in here from Southern Lee and Person, which is a little bit more out in the Raleigh area.
Because everything changes next year, right? I mean,
for sure.
Everything's going to be a little different.
Yeah. I mean, like in last year, we played Palisades, which was a new 4A in Charlotte.
Right.
We played Atkins, which is a 3A, and Winston-Salem. That's what we want it to be.
Sure.
We want to play some different competitions, some bigger schools. This year, it just didn't have the options. Unfortunately, I would have loved to play. We were supposed to play Wilson Hunt, which is a really reputable 3A, but with their schedule, they only had the funding to stay 2 days instead of 3. And that was the only other really reputable team for Croatan and West.
They
stay,
okay.
right, instead of going back and forth. Yes, yes.
I got you.
And so it was like, well, I didn't feel right to for us to play them and then Croatan not get a competitive game or West get it. So we try to, and Brooks and I and Coach Morris, we try our best to make it as competitive for everyone and give a good experience for those teams that are traveling away. We want them to come back, obviously.
Sure.
So, and I think Eastern Randolph will come back next year too. So we do a good job of getting it out there.
West Softball has that weird arrangement with the
Pennsylvania.
couple Pennsylvania teams
Oh,
that
nice.
come down.
Yeah,
Okay.
2 or 3
Their
of them.
season starts later because of the snow.
Right.
Right.
And so they come down for
God, they've been doing that forever.
Yeah, they come down and stay the night at a hotel and,
Yeah.
Cool.
and all that. Do we know if it's going to be 8 state titles next year?
Yeah, so it is. So
Okay.
there's 8. There are going to be 8 brackets.
No combos.
Where is,
No,
is
so
White, does Whiteville end up somewhere?
Whiteville's 4A. We go from being the smallest 2A to the biggest.
Yeah.
So North of Norris
Wow,
4A,
talk
Aiden
about
Grifton's
a switch.
4A,
That's fantastic.
Martin County's 3A. the only 2 that I think give us a real legitimate test that we've circled is Perquimans.
They've had a
which
really
is
good year.
and traditionally for the last since
Good program.
2011 they've
Yeah.
been
Yeah.
1A state titles or runner-ups 5 or 6
It's
times.
crazy in that little corner of the world.
Right, and
Yeah.
and then the other one is Voyager Academy. I mean,
Ooh,
obviously
there we go.
they're legit every year. They've got a big pool, and then also Rosewood. Rosewood,
Sure.
they influx up and down, but they've had a great year this year. I think they're going to be a 3 or 4 seed in 1A.
Okay.
And just me being me, I went and looked, and they have 1 senior. So they're going to be solid again next year, and somebody that we're going to try to play them non-conference. That's within reach
Sure.
for us. So if we can get them, and then North Duplin also will be a 2A. That's another quality program. That's not too far away.
It might be the big 4 or 5 in that division next year.
Yes, that's what we've perceived. I mean, you always will have a wild card that you don't expect, but I think us Perquimans and Voyager, should be at the top of that list for sure.
Yeah, Perquimans lost 1-2 games this year, maybe.
Yeah, they. And one of them was Greenville Rose.
Whoa.
So they went 19-3 because they just lost to Martin County in the conference championship. But they're a 2 seed in 1A East, so
Wow.
they're loaded.
Yeah.
And you talk about a tough place to play.
Really?
It's legit. I've talked to a couple coaches up that way.
Crowds come out, huh?
I mean, like you said, there's just nothing else there.
Well, I can't think of any other program they're really good at. I think their volleyball team has some good years, but I don't think their athletic program is top notch or anything. I don't recall any big time Perquimans things.
No, not really.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, thank you guys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
really appreciate
Glad
it.
we were
It
able
was
to come
awesome.
in and work
Yeah.
out with the half day at school and everything.
Really did. Yeah.
Good luck to you guys, man.
Thank you so
See you,
much.
John.